serious-minded about success, you have to pay close attention to this video as a youth. There is a war going on right now, and most people have no idea they are already losing it. It is not a war fought with guns or soldiers. It is not happening in the streets. It is happening inside your mind, every single day, every single hour, every time you pick up your phone. And the people running this war are not your enemies in the traditional sense. They are engineers, designers, psychologists, billionaires, and they have spent billions of dollars figuring out exactly how to take something from you that you can never get back. Your attention, your time, your future. Today, we are going to talk about the attention economy, what it is, how it works, why it was built specifically to destroy your potential, and most importantly, what you need to do if you actually want to build the kind of life you keep saying you want. This is not a video telling you to delete your phone. I am not going to ask you to become a monk. What I am going to do is show you the truth about the system you are living inside, and then give you the tools to stop being its victim. So pay attention, because the irony of this conversation is that if you cannot stay focused for the next 30 minutes, you have already proven everything I am about to say. Let us start at the beginning. What exactly is the attention economy? The attention economy is a business model. It is a way of making money. And the currency in this economy is not naira, not dollars, not cedis. The currency is your eyeballs, your scrolls, your clicks, your minutes. The longer you look at a screen, the more money someone else makes. That is the foundation of every major social media platform, every video recommendation algorithm, every notification sound designed to pull you back in. Here is how the business model works. These platforms, whether it is TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, they do not make money from you directly. You do not pay a subscription. You are not the customer. You are the product. Advertisers pay these companies for your attention. So the more attention the platform captures, the more money it earns. This means every feature on these platforms, every design decision, every color choice, every sound, every notification has one single goal: keep you on the platform as long as possible. And they are very, very good at this. In 2022, the average person spent close to 7 hours per day looking at screens. 7 hours. That is more time than most people spend sleeping. And a significant portion of that time is passive consumption. Scrolling, watching, reacting, not creating, not building, not learning, just consuming. Now you might be thinking, okay, but I enjoy it. What is wrong with that? And this is exactly where the trap is hidden. The trap is not that these platforms exist. The trap is what they were specifically designed to do to your brain. Let me explain something about dopamine. Dopamine is a chemical in your brain that is released when you experience or anticipate a reward. When you eat something you enjoy, dopamine. When you achieve something meaningful, dopamine. When you fall in love, dopamine. This chemical is your brain's way of saying, "That was good. Do that again." Now, here is what the engineers at these companies discovered. Dopamine is not just released by guaranteed rewards. It is released even more powerfully by unpredictable rewards. This is called variable reward scheduling, and it is the same psychological mechanism that makes gambling addictive. Think about the slot machine. You pull the lever, and sometimes you win, sometimes you do not. The unpredictability is what keeps you pulling. You cannot stop because you never know if the next pull might be the one. Now look at your phone. You scroll down your feed, and sometimes you see something funny. Sometimes something interesting. Sometimes, something that makes you angry. Sometimes, nothing at all. You never know what the next scroll will bring. That unpredictability is not an accident. It was engineered. The infinite scroll, the pull-to-refresh gesture, the random ordering of content, all of it was designed to trigger that same dopamine loop that keeps a gambler at a slot machine. This is why you pick up your phone, intending to spend 2 minutes, and look up 40 minutes later, with no memory of what you saw. It is not a willpower problem. It is a design problem. These platforms were built by the best minds in technology, using the deepest research in psychology and neuroscience to override your self-control. You are not weak, you are outgunned, but knowing this changes everything. Now let us talk about what this is actually costing you, because this is the part most people refuse to think about. Time is the only resource that cannot be replenished. Money you lose, you can earn back. Friendships you damage, you can repair. Opportunities you miss, similar ones can come again. But time is gone forever. Every hour you spend in passive scrolling is an hour you cannot reassign. And the compounding effect of lost time is catastrophic. Let us do the mathematics together. If you spend 4 hours a day on social media, and many people spend more than this, that is 28 hours a week. That is 112 hours a month. That is 1,344 hours a year. 1,344 hours. In 1,344 hours, you could learn a new language to conversational fluency. You could build a side business from scratch. You could read over 100 books. You could master a skill that most people in your field do not have. You could write the book you keep saying you want to write. You could exercise consistently and completely transform your physical health. You could start and grow a YouTube channel. Instead, that time was harvested, taken from you, hour by hour, scroll by scroll, and converted into advertising revenue for people who do not know your name and do not care about your dreams. This is the theft. Not dramatic, not violent, not sudden. Slow, quiet, gradual. The kind of theft you do not notice until 10 years have passed and you look at your life and wonder where the time went. But let us go deeper, because the damage is not just about time. It is about what excessive social media consumption does to your mind over time. The first thing it destroys is your attention span. Attention is a muscle. Like any muscle, it grows stronger when you train it and atrophies when you neglect it. The work that matters most in life, building a business, developing expertise, solving complex problems, creating anything of real value, requires sustained, deep attention. It requires the ability to sit with one thing for a long time and push through the discomfort of thinking hard. But scrolling trains your brain to do the opposite. Every time you switch from one video to the next, every time you jump between apps, every time you read 3 sentences before getting bored and swiping away, you are reinforcing a pattern of shallow, fragmented attention. You are training yourself to be intellectually impatient. You are teaching your brain that anything longer than 30 seconds is too much to endure. And then you sit down to do real work, important work, work that requires focus, and you cannot hold it. Your mind immediately wants to escape. Your fingers reach for your phone before you have even noticed. The urge to check, to scroll, to switch becomes overwhelming. Not because you are lazy, because you have trained your brain to expect constant stimulation, and the silence of genuine effort feels unbearable. This is why so many talented people produce almost nothing. The ideas are there. The desire is there. But the ability to sit still and execute has been slowly eroded by years of feeding the algorithm. there is something else nobody talks about enough. And this is the comparison trap. Social media does not show you real life. It shows you a curated highlight reel. Every successful person you see has removed all the failure, doubt, confusion, and pain from what they present. Every lifestyle you see has been filtered, staged, or simply fabricated. The person in that photo is not living that life constantly. They lived that moment, took a photo, and went back to struggling like the rest of us. But your brain does not process this rationally. Your brain is ancient. It was built to assess your social status relative to the people physically around you. For thousands of years, you could only compare yourself to the 100 or so people in your village. Now you are exposed to the most successful, most attractive, most wealthy, most adventurous version of millions of people every single day. And your ancient brain responds to this the same way it would respond to being the weakest person in your village, with anxiety, inadequacy, shame. Study after study confirms this. Higher social media usage is strongly linked to higher rates of anxiety, depression, loneliness, and reduced self-worth. The more time you spend on these platforms, the more you feel like your life is insufficient, your body is wrong, your progress is too slow, your achievements are unimpressive. This is not a side effect. It is baked into the design. Because a person who feels inadequate is a person who stays online longer, trying to fill the emptiness. You are not just losing time. You are losing the internal peace and confidence that is necessary to build something. Now I want to talk about something specific to where most of our audience comes from. If you are a young person in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Cameroon, in Senegal, in any part of West Africa or the developing world, the stakes for you are even higher than for someone in London or New York. Here is why. The gap between where you are now and where you want to be is larger. That is not an insult. It is an honest assessment of structural reality. The infrastructure, the institutions, the access, the networks, the funding, all of it requires you to work harder and smarter and more deliberately than someone who starts with built-in advantages. This means you do not have time to waste. Someone growing up in a wealthy family, in a well-resourced country, can afford to lose a few years to distraction and still recover. The cushion exists. For most young people in developing world contexts, there is no cushion. Every year of wasted potential has consequences that compound. And yet, social media consumption is just as high, often higher in these regions. People who have the most to build are spending the most time being distracted. Meanwhile, the people building the platforms, the engineers, the founders, the investors, they are using the same 24 hours in very different ways. This is not about blaming yourself. This is about understanding the landscape clearly so you can make a different choice. Let us talk about the algorithm specifically, because understanding how it works is the first step to refusing its manipulation. Every major platform uses a recommendation algorithm. This algorithm is essentially a machine that has one job: keep you watching. And it has learned, through processing billions of hours of human behavior, exactly what content keeps human attention the longest. What does it find? Outrage, fear, sexual stimulation, social drama, conflict, controversy. These emotions are ancient survival mechanisms. They were designed to grab your attention because, in the physical world, danger and social conflict are things you need to notice immediately. The algorithm did not create this. It simply discovered it and exploits it mercilessly. This is why your feed is full of drama, political outrage, shocking news, and conflict. Not because that is all that exists in the world, but because that is the content that keeps your eyes moving most reliably. Every time you watch a controversial video to the end, every time you stop scrolling to read the angry comments, every time you share something because it made you furious, you are training the algorithm to feed you more of the same. And so your information diet becomes increasingly extreme, increasingly emotional, increasingly divorced from the calm, rational thinking that serious decision-making and serious work requires. You become a person who is always stimulated, always reactive, always on the edge of an emotion, and you become incapable of the stillness that creativity and building actually need. Let us talk about what is being stolen beyond time and mental health. I want to talk about identity. One of the most insidious effects of the attention economy is what it does to how you understand yourself, your preferences, your values, your sense of who you are and what you want. When you are constantly consuming other people's content, other people's opinions, other people's aesthetics, other people's lifestyles, you have very little space left to develop your own. A strong identity comes from solitude, from sitting with your own thoughts long enough to know what they actually are, from experiencing boredom and learning to navigate it without reaching for distraction, from doing difficult things alone and discovering what you are made of. All of this requires time spent away from the flood of other people's voices. But most young people today are never alone with their thoughts. The moment there is a gap, a commute, a meal, a break, the phone comes out and the flood begins again. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, they lose access to their own interior life. They do not know what they think anymore, unless someone else has already said it. They do not know what they want unless they have seen it on someone else's feed. They drift, confused and restless, because they have outsourced their inner life to an algorithm. And a person without a strong, clear sense of identity cannot build anything lasting. Because every obstacle, every difficult decision, every moment of self-doubt will be too much to bear. You need to know who you are to do hard things over a long time. I want to tell you about the people who built these platforms, because what they do with their own time tells you everything. Steve Jobs, who co-created the smartphone and helped launch this entire era, severely limited his children's access to technology. Not because he was a hypocrite, but because he understood what he had built. He knew the pull was powerful enough to derail development. Cal Newport, a professor at Georgetown University who has studied attention and deep work extensively, documented how the leaders of the technology industry, the people who run these platforms, the engineers who build the algorithms, very few of them are heavy social media users themselves. Many barely use it at all. There is a name for this. It is called the pusher's code. The person selling the drug does not use the drug. The casino owner does not gamble. The attention engineer does not let the algorithm control his attention. They understand exactly what the product does, and they protect themselves from it, while designing it to be irresistible for everyone else. Does that not tell you something? The people who understand these platforms most deeply use them least, and the people who understand them least use them most. That gap in understanding is a gap in outcomes. Now let us turn the corner, because understanding the problem is only useful if it leads to action. The first shift you need to make is philosophical. You need to stop thinking of your phone and your apps as neutral tools and start thinking of them as products specifically designed to consume you. A hammer is a tool. It does not want anything from you. It does not send you notifications. It does not reward you for using it more. But Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, these are not neutral tools. They are adversarial products. They have objectives that are in direct conflict with your objectives. Your objective is to build a good life, develop skills, create value, and move toward your goals. The platform's objective is to harvest your time and attention for advertising revenue. These objectives cannot coexist. Every hour the platform wins is an hour your future loses. Once you see it this way, every decision about how you use your phone becomes a competitive decision. Are you competing well, or are you losing? The second thing you need to do is rebuild your attention span deliberately. This means practicing deep work. Deep work is the ability to focus on a cognitively demanding task without distraction for an extended period. It is a skill, and like any skill, it requires practice. Start small. If your attention span has been shredded by years of scrolling, you cannot suddenly sit for 4 hours. Begin with 25 minutes. Set a timer. Put your phone in a different room, not just face down on the desk, a different room. And work on one single thing with complete focus until the timer goes off. Then take a 5-minute break. Then go again. This is called the Pomodoro technique, and it is extraordinarily effective for rebuilding focus. Over weeks and months, you will find that your ability to concentrate grows. The urge to escape becomes less powerful. The discomfort of effort becomes more tolerable. And the satisfaction of completing focused work becomes its own reward. The goal is not to eliminate distraction forever. The goal is to make focused work your default mode instead of your exception. Third, you need to redesign your phone environment. Your phone is probably designed right now to pull you toward consumption at every moment. That needs to change. Remove social media apps from your home screen. Put them inside folders, buried under other folders, so that accessing them requires a deliberate choice rather than an unconscious reflex. Turn off all non-essential notifications. Every notification is an interruption. Every interruption costs you more than the time it takes to respond. Research consistently shows that it takes an average of 23 minutes to fully return to a state of deep focus after an interruption. If you receive 10 notifications during a work session, you are not really working at all. Set specific times for social media, not whenever the urge strikes, but specific windows, perhaps 30 minutes in the afternoon. Treat it like any other scheduled task. Outside of those windows, the apps are closed and notifications are off. Your phone should be a tool you pick up with intention and put down with intention, not a companion that lives in your hand and follows you everywhere. Fourth, you need to replace consumption with creation. This is the most powerful reframe available to you. The attention economy makes money from consumers. You become powerful by becoming a creator. Not because content creation is the only path to success, but because the act of creating reorients your relationship with time and attention. A creator looks at time differently. An hour of scrolling is an hour you could have spent building something. A creator asks, what can I make? What can I contribute? What can I put into the world that did not exist before? This question fundamentally changes how you experience your phone in your spare time. You do not need to become a full-time content creator. But whatever your field, whatever your goal, shift your relationship with your phone from one of consumption to one of production. Use it to learn skills deliberately, not passively. Use it to build connections with intention, not to perform for approval. Use it to output value, not to absorb entertainment. Fifth, protect your mornings. The first hour of your day sets the cognitive tone for everything that follows. Most people begin their day by immediately reaching for their phone and flooding their mind with other people's content, other people's problems, other people's drama. And then they wonder why they feel scattered and reactive for the rest of the day. Your morning is sacred. It is the time when your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning, focus, and long-term thinking is freshest and most powerful. The attention economy wants that time. Advertisers pay more for morning attention. Algorithms are designed to hook you before you have had a chance to think. Protect it. Wake up and spend the first hour without your phone. Use it to think, to plan, to exercise, to read something that builds you, to work on whatever matters most to your future. Give your best cognitive hours to your own goals, not to someone else's revenue model. Sixth, invest in boredom. This sounds counterintuitive, but learning to tolerate boredom is one of the highest leverage things you can do for your future. Boredom is where creativity lives. When your mind has nothing to consume, it begins to generate. It connects ideas. It solves problems that have been sitting unresolved. It produces insights that are impossible when you are always in consumption mode. The greatest ideas that will change your life will not come while you are scrolling. They will come in the shower, on a long walk without headphones, sitting quietly with your own thoughts. But only if you allow those moments of emptiness to exist. Only if you stop reaching for stimulation the instant you feel the discomfort of stillness. Train yourself to sit with boredom, to wait without your phone, to walk without an earbud, to eat a meal alone with your thoughts. This is not a small thing. This is how you reconnect with your own mind. Now I want to talk about the bigger picture, because this is not just a personal issue. This is a civilizational issue. The attention economy is a system that profits from distraction, outrage, and shallow thinking. And when it captures the attention of an entire generation, particularly a generation in a developing region with the most to build and the most to lose, the consequences extend far beyond individual wasted potential. A generation that cannot think deeply cannot solve deep problems. A generation addicted to outrage and passive entertainment cannot do the patient, unglamorous work of building institutions, businesses, and communities. A generation that measures its worth in likes and views cannot develop the internal conviction necessary for long-term sacrifice and sustained effort. This is why this conversation matters beyond your personal life. When you reclaim your attention, you are not just improving your own outcomes. You are one of the few people in your environment choosing to opt out of a system designed to diminish you. And that choice, multiplied across thousands of people who watch content like this and take it seriously, is how cultures shift. Let me bring this home. You are not going to look back at your life and wish you had spent more time scrolling. You are not going to be on your deathbed grateful for all the videos you watched. The things that will matter when you reflect on your life are the things you built, the person you became, the impact you had, the relationships you nurtured, the dreams you pursued. And none of those things will happen automatically. They require the one resource that the attention economy is working every single day to take from you: your focused, directed, intentional time and energy. The war is real. The people on the other side are serious and well-funded and brilliant. But they have one weakness. They only win when you are not paying attention to yourself, to your goals, to what you actually want your life to look like. Start paying attention, not to your feed, to your future. The next 10 years are going to pass regardless. The only question is what you are going to have to show for them when they do. Every hour you reclaim from the algorithm is an hour invested in the person you are becoming, and the person you become will determine everything. So close the app, put down the phone, and go build something. This is serious-minded about success. Stay focused. Hope you learned something new today. If you loved this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Bye.